think I'm turning Japanese. I really think so. So, you've seen the fucking movie Last Samurai, right? There's a line at the start of that movie that's always made me think, and we're going to talk about it. They say something to the fact that Yamamoto no longer dishonors himself by using firearms. There's an exchange of other shit. We can talk about that too, but that's the main thing. This is a thing that I've run into with several like god king warriors basically, is that there's this streak of them that, like, it's not like, oh, we don't use machine guns. There's definitely that. There's even a more extreme level to it than that. That is, I want to look a man in the eye as I chop his fucking head off. That is the only thing that will bring me satisfaction. And I think that is what that means. In that, when they say, is it Katsumoto or Yamamoto or whatever the fuck his name is, no longer dishonors himself by using firearms, he's saying that you couldn't kill him with a rifle if you tried, because he's protected by the divine providence of God, and he is going to cut your motherfucking head off with a sword. That is the message being sent there. And maybe that's a little insane. Maybe that's a little insane for most people, but that is the thing that I would like to capture, if anything. We are facing an adversary that is bigger than any of us by leaps and bounds. No one wants to organize because no one wants to be squished first. So we're all going to die alone. It's going to be glorious. I'm going to have samurai armor, have a pirate sword, flag. That's what you guys are choosing to do. I just do a radio show and talk about what you guys are doing. All of you who fucking listen to this and are upset about all of the things in the world that I'm upset about, you are waiting to die on your hill. And what I'm telling you is, I no longer dishonor myself by using firearms. I have guns. I don't think I would ever use them to fight the fight that I'm going to fight. And that's what this is. This is picking a fight. I'm going to talk on the internet until somebody tries to shut me up. Then things are going to get interesting. I have lawyers. I have money. I have family. We'll see if they can shut me up. I no longer dishonor myself by using firearms, so do what you will. I'm going to have my black powder revolver to go plinking with, and I'm be in my minivan, and we're going to walk the earth like fucking Kane and Kung Fu or whatever. I'm literally going to have a pirate sword and night vision. That's my new plan. And part of that is to be more untouchable. And part of that is the honor thing of it. Like, we are in a fight that we can't win. I am not worried about a mugger on the street. I am not worried about my neighbors. They do not concern me. If they did, they would no longer be living. Okay? That is the way of the universe, especially once the rule of law is gone. The thing that concerns me greatly is the rich fucks that live states away from us that think they own us. And I think we should fucking yeah, what I was about to say there, the logical thing for me to say there, that's what I think you guys should do, but I can't say that on the internet. There's a lot of shit that I can't say on the internet. All is as God wills it, and I am merely a servant of his will. If it is his will for me to die, then it will be so. Until then, the Berka rides with me. That's almost a direct quote from The Wind and the Lion. So Sean Connery is the Raizuli. Mm, he's yummy in that fucking role. I love the fucking crazy passion that's in his eye when he fucking does anything in that movie. The Berka is like this like fucking Islamic idea of like God's luck and fortune following you because you're blessed and cursed at the same time. It's that, it's blessing power, basically. It's not a good or bad thing. It is what it is, and you're probably fucked. That pretty much describes me and my situation. I find that very apropos. I I can do things that you wouldn't believe. Also kind of fucked for running. Call a game of blackjack for 50 straight hands. Also probably can't drive home. You know, it is what it is. It's one of those God loves you, but for whatever reason, you desire weird shit. That's what I think it is. And I think it's very clear that Katsumoto, or whatever his name was in Last Samurai, he thought the Baraka rode with him. He thought you couldn't fucking touch him. He was picking a fight with the Emperor. Mano a mano solo combat with swords. One of us is going to live, one of us is going to die. This is the way. That was the way for like 10,000 fucking years. And I think that's what so many of us have like baked into our fucking DNA. And it makes us fucking sick to see these fucking cowards and piss ants pretending to lead a fucking country. They're very clearly not cut from a cloth to do it. Only the most incompetent criminal assholes in the world are in positions of power now. The world's ripe for revolution. Is it going to be 1776 2.0, or is it going to be Red October? That's the thing that faces us. And I swore an oath to God that I would die before I lived in a communist country, or die killing communists in my country if it became communist. That's where I'm at with it. It's not an option. They can do whatever they want. If they would go communist, like, I'm not alone in my feelings. And thanks to the U.S. Army's, policies over the last, I don't know, ever, and the U.S. Marine Corps policies over the last, I don't know, ever, anyone who's ever bared arms in the United States feels about communism roughly like I do. They kind of want to fucking grease the wheels of their tanks with you. That's where this is going. They've bred a fucking insurrection. They've bred a fucking civil war, and they've bred World War III all at the same time. And we're just sitting here waiting for one or the other to kick off while these evil fucks run the show. So why the fuck do you need an AR-15? We're all gonna die. I feel like John C. Riley on the boat and fucking, that last King Kong movie with the fucking Vietnam troops, or what the fuck that was called, where he's like, you boys are a good bunch of boys to die with. You really are. We're all gonna die. That's how I feel. It's one of those like, I've heard this music before. Time to start drinking. That's where we're at in the show. There's not too many ways out of this, in my view. I bought a sword. I'm outfitting a survival helmet because that makes me happy, I guess. I'm trying to keep a set of arms that makes sense to me, but also free up some cash to finish other projects. I debate on things like the Flux Raider because that's a lot of money and I need night vision for the helmet. I don't know. But like this is the thing is the sword does not make much sense unless you're in a world without ammunition. Okay? That sword and training with that sword, that has nothing to do with the here and the now. Think about that. I've been practicing with guns for as long as I can remember. Like dry fire was part of life, still is, every day. You wake up and you have repetition and consistency because, like, sometime it might matter. And for years and years, I did that with a rifle. That's all I did. Repetition after repetition after repetition. Side alignment, trigger press, side alignment, trigger press, side alignment, trigger press. For hours on end. I do that less with rifles these days. Mostly what I do is handguns. I think everyone should master a rifle first. And I think like a handgun is a thing that like there's a whole bunch of different handguns, first off. And second off, they're more difficult to shoot. Like you'd be like, ah, no, they're not. Well, shoot both of those at 200 yards. Tell me which one's harder. That's what I thought. Like, that's ridiculous. That's not where I shoot the. I don't care. I know handguns are 25 yards and in mostly, but my point is exaggerated at distance. Anyway, I think the realities of our future ammo situation are you better buy a fucking scope. That would be my advice to you. I don't think the ammo situation is getting any fucking better anytime soon. And I've got now a couple thousand rounds of Lake City 5.56 stashed, and I think that's probably going to be the last of that for a while, given the fact that Taiwan is sparking off. Um, by the amount of assets the Chinese are moving, to me, it looks like they are getting ready to go in October exactly when I said they would. The reason that I said they would then is because that's when the fucking tide and monsoon season bullshit is right in between those two fucking places. Like that shit matters in Asia. It matters in a lot of places, really, but we don't think about it. It matters in particular in fucking that part of the world. So they're waiting for the right weather for their attack. And they're moving all their forces into position, and they're using Pelosi as the excuse. I don't fully understand any of this. I don't understand any of this. It seems like the entire Biden administration has been the controlled demolition of the United States. His presidency is going to go down in history as like the worst ever. It's sad to me that my nephew and my cousin's kids aren't going to grow up in the United States. Quite frankly, we're not going to be a country anymore because of the decisions that have been made. For one reason or another, the United States is over. It was a fun 230 something years. More than that. I don't care to do math right now. I'm sad. Okay. The only like glimmer of hope would be if like Texas and some of the other states broke away, formed an independent republic like Mexico, and just said, "Hey, we're not in this shit." I think that's what we should do. And when they try to fight for us, I think we should nuke them. No bones about it. If they try to keep us from fucking leaving, I think we should nuke their fucking cities. If they're gonna fucking break the Constitution, we're gonna leave, and they've already done that, and I think we should be leaving now. I have left. I fly a black flag. I am no longer a citizen of the United States of America. I've said that multiple times in front of a fucking camera now. Fuck them. I'm a citizen of the Cherokee Nation. We're a proud people. And we have treaties with the United States government. So, good luck. And this is the angle I would like to attack them at in Oklahoma is double fuck them. Oklahoma has every fucking right to separate from them. We have it by law. It's been in the courts now. About 2/3 of the state of Oklahoma is confirmed as being Native American lands that was stolen. Okay? And I'm not saying, hey, kick out all the fucking white people or whatever. What I am saying is, okay, my, red, yellow, black, white brothers, let's all come together and go, okay, the Indians can get us our own state. Let's do that. And everybody else just pools in and starts helping. Everyone that like loves Oklahoma. Because I don't want to go down with the fucking ship. And with some of the stuff that they're doing, it's if God doesn't get them, China will. So will Russia. They're fucking with people that they don't fully understand. Just be brutally honest. The people that run this country could not handle a direct discussion with me. They flat out couldn't. Putin and I pretty much know for a fact, would be fast friends because I have a fucked up sense of humor and am aggressive. Okay? And like as a subordinate, he wouldn't like that. But at across a negotiating table, that's what he would expect. That's something he can at least respect. That's someone he might be able to do business with. The people, I guarantee you, that Biden sends there are not me. Okay? Who do you think they're fucking sending? Imagine the worst person imaginable that you could have to talk to me. That's who they're sending. Because they're fucking Democrats. They're gonna pick some fucking like weaselly fucking nerd. Nothing against nerds, but like King of the Hill. They call him fucking Twig Boy or whatever. The guy that the government sent to fucking take Bobby away from Hank in one episode. That's who they would send to talk to Putin. That's probably who is talking to Putin. And all that gets you with Putin is okay, and then he invades the Ukraine. I know that because that's all that would get you with me. In fact, I would send you that dude's severed head in a bag. I'm kind of old school that way. Putin's more of a modern dictator. I'm an old school despot. And as such, I get Putin at least a little bit more than the American government does. And it's kind of fucking hilarious to me. I'm glad that what's going on there is what's going on. To be honest. He's calling them on their bullshit from what I can tell. Assuming that it's not all some sort of show put on by Rothschilds, which that's a solid argument too. I don't know what to think about that anymore. If there is some spooky game being played across history, I don't get its point or purpose. It seems like it fucking comes in tides and fails and succeeds all at the same time. It's almost like it doesn't exist. At the same time, somebody's got to own the money, I guess. It's fucking kind of ridiculous that it's like one creepy family, though. It's like you have to sacrifice your soul to Satan to get a bank loan. Suck Baron Rothschild's dick or whatever. It's probably somewhat true at some level. There's like some like secret Vatican inner circle where they all get together and touch peens. I think I will probably still use guns, but like this is kind of my thought behind like the black powder revolver in the 1911 is I'm pretty confident that they can't fucking do shit to me. So I'm gonna carry old shit. I have a sword, my pirate pistols, and like I have a hunting rifle in my AR-15. I have a second AR that's kind of set up for home defense that I would like to rig for night vision. I think I debate on that gun what I want to do. It could be a hole I throw money into very easily. I've gotten at the point now where like what I am doing right now is like perfecting my systems, and some of those systems are firearms. Some of it's like that helmet. That helmet is I want to see in the dark at night. It has multiple options. It does everything from a Petzl headlamp to the Surefire on the side of it to I'm adding a PVS-7. Like it's gonna have a lot of capabilities and it's a cool thing. But like that's one of many systems that I'm squaring away. Like I've just spent a lot of time on medical shit. Just spent a lot of time on water shit too, and like really I should take some money and buy a fucking water filter. That's a whole conversation. I'm putting that off because I want to buy fucking multi tools and shit, and I need that stuff too. Like my EDC knives and crap got kind of lackluster, lazy, and sad just because like I didn't use them much, and I had other concerns. So I'm buying some stuff that is like I will never need to buy pocket knives again if I don't want to. And I'm buying that set of knives, and like it's not like I'm not going to collect other knives or whatever. I probably will, but I want to have a collection of knives that is like the shit that is on my person and in my bag and then on my nightstand. That's kind of like my EDC rotation kind of stuff. I want to have that stuff just squared away. I'm doing that. I have the money to do that. Like there's things that are not in my control. There are things that are. My EDC stuff right now is something that I can fucking perfect. That helmet I can perfect. The van I can perfect. And you know what all those things have in common? They all are mobile and all mine. I own that van outright. It's mine. It and all of its contents are mine. So I'm really focusing all of my money on the shit that's going to fill that van. And like the water filtration shit that I'm working on and the water carrying system shit that I'm working on, that's for the van. The medical kit and shit is for the van. And like my goal is, worst case scenario, I end up living on a couple of acres of land I buy out in the country, camping in my van for a while until I can scrounge up enough wood and money to build a cabin. I'm okay with that. I am not okay with living as a part of their society, to be honest. I think that their entire society has like abandoned God and abandoned honor and abandoned valor and abandoned everything that I or anyone should ever fucking hold dear. And as a result, I think they deserve what is about to happen to them. But, I'll still be here. I'll still exist. Like, that's the thing I think a lot of people don't understand about me is like, I don't take a lot of food to keep existing. And like, guys like me, you know, between that and like the entertainment factor and the fact that I can fix a lot of shit, I'll be around. You don't worry about me. All you fuckers got to find somebody to fucking like be with. It's like, what are your survival skills? Well, I can fix most things, I can build most things, and I suck dick like a porn star. It's like you're hired. There's someone out there that would be like, fuck yeah. Oh, guys are so weird about sucking dick. Oh, it's like they have it in their mind as something horrible that no one would like to do. But there's like a secret most girls aren't going to tell them that, like, not all girls, but a hell of a lot of girls like sucking dick. What's not to like about it? Like, I'm not going to go into that, but like, there are things that could be bad, but like, even those are like, I guess like maybe if you had a gag reflex and couldn't hold your breath for 5 minutes, you would care more about that. But I don't. Well, I wasn't gonna tell you that, but yeah, that's Ray Ray's superpower, or a couple of them. Wow. That's why I'm such a good swimmer. I can hold my breath for so long. What's really impressive is to take like a gigantic hit of weed and then deep throat a guy, and then like 5 or 6 minutes later, let the smoke out. I did that to a guy once and freaked him out. He was like, "Holy fuck, you weren't breathing that entire time?" I'm like, "No." Like, what the fuck? There was a long pause in between the huge ass puff of fucking weed that I took and the giant dragon cloud I let out, coughing. Like, literally 5 or 6 minutes. Something like that. It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous enough that the man stopped me and was like, "Hold up." Man stopped a blowjob and asked me if I had not been breathing that whole time. That's how long it was. He was legitimately curious slash concerned enough to stop the blowjob. That's skill, honey. You can't teach that. Smoking. Yeah, but you guys wonder how I can take a hit of weed and talk to you like this? That's how. I get that from my mom, I think. I don't mean that like she was great at head, which that's a different conversation. She was a singer and like classically trained opera and shit like that before she became a doctor. And sorry, I don't really sing, but I can do voices like nobody's business and have the vocal range of, I don't know, 3 people. I was hanging out with some girlfriends once, and we were doing drugs. I'm not gonna say what we were doing. We were doing something bad and makeup, and it was a hell of a lot of fun. Anyway, I don't remember what I was talking about now. I got distracted thinking about that. Drugs and makeup. And oh yeah, the vocal range thing. Well, this was Dakota and a friend of ours, and the friend of ours was also trans and had an app on her phone that was for vocal range, for trying to feminize your voice or whatever. Because if you always talk like this, then people will think you're a real girl. Whereas if you talk like a man, they might get a little suspicious. You know, shit like that. But as it turns out, I can go really, really, really high. I'm going so high now that my cat's running away. Ha! And I can go low, 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 low. And like on their little, voice meter thing, what I just did right there topped it out and bottomed it out. I thought that was impressive. Like that's why sometimes I get in a passion and like I talk kind of like a dude. I'm sorry, I was one for a really long time, but like my voice is like a fucking chameleon. I can do anything. I can do foghorn leghorn if I want to. What I said, boy. A billion others. It does make me fun in bed. I'll give it that. I'm not going to do any of those voices. Long time, long time. Anyway, uh, I don't know. I try to talk like a girl, but like I talk like me, and I'm always kind of been a girl, and people took what I said the wrong way as a guy because I was a girl. Like I would say things, and people would be like, "You trying to start a fight?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And like I think part of that was like uh, being a girl. I was from the point of I wasn't ever going to fight you. And then eventually I was at a size where I could just say whatever I wanted and none of that mattered anymore to some extent. Except for occasionally I'd say something like that and someone would be like, start trying to start a fight. I'd be like, if I was, could you do anything about it? And like depending on who it was would get various responses. But usually if I said that to you, it's because I was looking down at you. And I was literally asking, like, are you sure that you want to die? Because I'm about to kill you with my bare hands. Like, I get tired of that shit. And maybe that's half of like the being a girl thing is like, guys, just leave me the fuck alone now. Or they hit on me, one or the other. They damn sure don't think I'm trying to pick a fight with them because I look at them wrong or whatever the fuck it is. Like that shit. I think we should find all the men like that and beat them to death with baseball bats slowly. Like put their head on an anvil and like get a wiffle ball bat and slowly beat them to death. If I wanted to challenge you, I'd fucking walk up and fucking cut your fucking dick off. Like that's half the thing I don't think they get is like if you got that I was a girl, you'd get that you really shouldn't fuck with me. Because I'm not going to like respond in a normal male way. And like that's the thing is I think a lot of guys don't like to fuck with trannies because they don't understand us anymore. And the reason they don't understand us because they don't understand women. And men don't fight women generally speaking. Why don't they? Because women do crazy, crazy shit usually. Like everyone's like, oh no, it's because the honor of the old ways and you need to protect the women. No. Uh-uh. It's because guys don't want to get their dicks cut off in their sleep. Women do shit like that. Women aren't gonna fucking ever cut you in the fucking face in public. They're gonna stab you in the back 100 times while you sleep. You shouldn't fight women. That's the lesson that you should take away from that. It's like it's not a winning fight for you. Men have men fights and women have women fights, and they're both fights, but they're different fights. Like girls mostly fight over men. A few other things too, money, toys, but mostly men. Like money and toys are temporary and fleeting and whatever. Dick, like that's a strong fucking thing sometimes. Whereas men fight over, I don't know. I don't understand men. I never have. I never was one of you, honey. I mostly ever fought ever as a man because other men were attacking me and I had to defend myself. And most of that was because either I was weird and young and mouthy, or I was 6'5" and I looked at them wrong. And like that's around the time I started carrying a fucking switchblade or like a cold steel Voyager. And I started doing that after I got jumped by a couple of people, and I had to defend myself against two. And I'm like, this could get worse. What could I have? I was like, ah, switchblade. I carried that for a while, and I saw Cold Steel Double XL Voyager. I'm like, that one. And I had the opportunity to use that. I was uh, I was working someplace where I had to lock up the gates at night, and four people. This was while I was in high school. Four people tried to like beat the shit out of me slash rob me, and all that happened was I flicked out the Cold Steel Voyager and cut two of them. Like it was on the hands or whatever. It was superficial cuts. I literally like deployed that and slid across a couple of their hands, and they went running, and the other two were like trying to figure out what happened. And that's kind of why, like, I don't know, knives mean shit to me. Like nobody died there. I didn't fucking, stab anyone. But the presence of that knife scared two of them away, and the slash attack of it did the other two. If I had just pulled out that knife and clicked it open, that probably would have scared them away. It's a big fucking knife. But it was kind of dark and whatever, and like I was young. Like this is the stories of a misspent youth or whatever, right? 100 fucking stories like that. That growing up in Tulsa, like it shit happens here. Like I live near the fairgrounds, and during the fair around here, you better have your shit wired tight. I have had to point a loaded pistol at a crazy meth head on my back porch more times than I care to mention because of the Tulsa State Fair. People die at the fair. That was kind of a bad movie, but that was a great line in it. Oh, yeah, that job sucked. That's why I only did that 1 year. And locking up the gates and shit was the easiest part of that job. But it was also I got attacked 3 different times there, and the first time was the 2 people, and the second time was the 4 people, and the time after that was just 1 dude that was trying to mug me. And, like, all that happened there was, as he was trying to mug me, the fucking cops drove by, and he got spooked and whatever, and while he was kinda spooked and looking at them, I pulled out the Cold Steel Voyager again and had just clicked it open as he decided to run away. And then the cop drove up and was like, "Is everything okay?" As I was like carrying a Bowie knife and I'm like folding it back. I'm like, "Well, it is now." Like he was about to die, and the cop laughed and he's like, "Yeah, it looked like it." Like I'm just here locking the gate. He's like, "Okay, well, have a good night." Like that's the attitude most of the cops in Oklahoma have about that shit. Like don't carry illegal shit and don't go around murdering people, but like if somebody tries to mug you or some shit, you know, what happens happens. That's one of those I wouldn't want that on my conscience, but I'm definitely not going to hold back in that situation. Like I don't know. I've dealt with enough bullshit in my life that I'm tired of fucking getting walked on by other people. And I decided somewhere in like middle school or high school I wasn't going to do that anymore. And I found that like a big knife gets your point across quickly. And like as far as anything else goes, guns or whatever are fine. And like for a situation where it is the crazy meth head on your back porch at 2 in the morning stealing your patio furniture for I don't know. Like, this is the thing. Meth heads steal random shit to do random things, and you'll never understand a meth head because you can go look up the gun that is, what did they call that? There's a plumbing nightmare that was like a 410 shotgun that was made by a meth head in like South Carolina. Was on TFB TV, I think. That is typical of like why he was stealing that lawn furniture. you know, bits of that, hand cannon are pieces of people's patio furniture. Or something equally ridiculous. You know, the gun thing for me is most of the time, if you're using a gun in defense, it's probably a thing that you have with you that is not being used. And as such, most guns will do for that. And when it's not that, the vast majority of the time, it's 3 shots. That's just the statistics, but, like, that's pretty factual, and I'm not saying that means you should always carry a 5-shot revolver. No, what I'm saying is, like, I don't feel under-equipped carrying something like a 1911 as a handgun. It worked for a long time. I think a 45 to the head will fix most problems. So there's 8 of those. That's my thoughts on it. And the black powder revolver, I literally think it's cool in its capabilities. Like, is it weird? It is kind of weird, but it's also kind of cool because it's like completely outside of the law and it contains its own cartridges basically, and you put your powder in them and ram your balls in them and then shove caps on the end of them, priming them, and then you're good. Like, it's I'm not saying everyone should have a J-frame revolver. What I'm saying is everyone should have a black powder revolver and know how to use it just because it's cool and the history of it, and they're cheap. And 6 shots of like 44 will get a lot of shit done, especially one or two assailants. It's something that everyone should know how to use. And I'm not saying you shouldn't know how to use every antique gun ever, but like a Colt single action black powder revolver and a Colt single action army and like a Winchester Henry lever action kind of gun and like a bolt action Mauser, like some of these big like common designs that there's a whole bunch of in the world. At least you know buy one, play with it for a while, and sell it. Like, buy. My advice to a young man on guns is, if you want a fun hobby, save up and buy a gun and 300 rounds of ammunition. And when that ammunition is gone, decide if you would like to keep the gun or not, and make like a either make a YouTube video or write a fucking article on it or something. Like, do a thing that makes you think through, hey, why am I keeping this? Why am I not? And then, like, if it's your favorite thing ever, don't sell it. But like, if it's one that's like, okay, next one, do that. Go get the next one. Like, oh, I tried a 1911, I didn't like it. Okay, well, you found that out in that 300 rounds you bought with the gun. So now take it back to the shop and fucking sell it back. It's a learning process. Like, I would say, oh, you just take it to a gun show and sell it, but that is very poor legal advice these days. The ATF is, well, I am only dealing in black powder firearms from now on. I have a couple of ARs and shit here, and I'm going to find most of them at home to be at while I adventure in my van. And as far as my firearms to be with me in the van, I haven't decided yet what I'm going to take. The black powder revolver is definitely coming as a plinking gun. The 1911 in the car are probably coming. My 22 rifle is probably coming. The question mark is Flux Raider come or not come, and I'm kind of leaning towards it not coming. Because I could pack it and the two AR-15s in a bag and leave them someplace uh, with family or friends or whatever, and know that they're safe. And those are most of the high value shit, other than like my pistols. But my pistols are just gonna be high value shit. I like them. And like this is part of the advantage you have of like living in the van. Basically, is I wouldn't want to get a hotel room if I could. Like all my cool shit's in the van. You know. And my plan is to go to Arizona and New Mexico and find some hippy dippy people and hang out and chill. Or maybe go to fucking Georgia now. I don't know. I think there's some places around Atlanta that I could have a hell of a lot of fun. I'm not gonna say what my passions in life are, but the South appeals to me. I really, really like Southern cooking for one, but that's just obvious because I'm fat. Like Southern food makes you fat, I think. Although I have to say, my diet's fucking working. I have been losing a lot of weight over the last few years or whatever, and I kind of had hit a plateau, and getting on hormones kind of broke me free of that. I think the plateau I was hitting was that, essentially. And like, my body has changed a shitload. It's kind of crazy. It's one of those like, I get why girls do YouTube channels that are just about their transition. Honestly, I would like to do that, and I'm resisting, doing more. It's one of those like, I don't really know if I want to be that, but like I am that to some extent. It's just how much of that do I want to show to you people? Because like the go watch Blair White's channel. I could 100% have made Blair White's channel. Okay? I'm not as pretty as her. I'll give you that. She's fucking gorgeous. Like I am very beautiful but fat. So like if you're into chubby chicks, I'm hot. She is like just legitimately like a knockout. Okay. I aspire to greatness. If you saw the picture that I have as my goals picture and the picture that I had as my original, like where I started out and where I am now, you would be like, holy shit, you're going to get there. I know that because I've sent those pictures to men that were going to fuck me, and they're like, you're there now. And let's just, men being nice because they want to fuck you. But the ones that are honest, you're like, you're well on your fucking way. And like part of my thing is like basically, as far as being more female or feminine or whatever, I'm there. I am just working on losing the last 100 pounds or so. Like 100 pounds. Yeah, I I'm a big person. I'm 6'5", and I was 630 pounds and blacksmithing every day. So like there was a lot of fat there, but there was also a lot of muscle there, and I have to lose some of both to do what I'm doing. And like this is the shit where like guys look at me and judge me and don't even know what I do or how hard I've worked to get to where I am. And like as far as being 630 pounds, I have no testosterone in my body apparently. And I was eating because I was sad. My body just really doesn't have any hormones at all, naturally, apparently. And that's some of what was going on with me. That's why female hormones are making me lose weight. This is kind of some of that, like, I've gotten shit my entire life from everyone about my weight and about everything else. I'm like, I don't do anything crazy. I mean, like, people think you like are some sort of pig or something and just like eat like crazy and like I eat less than you do probably and still this heavy. It doesn't make any sense. I work on it. I work on it every day, and it's a constant fight. And you know, some of it's getting easier, and like some of it lately, I've kind of said fuck it, and I'm gonna enjoy some shit. But like I say, I'm gonna enjoy some shit. I bought some milk chocolate chips. I have some handfuls of them now and then. I bought some rock candy and some jawbreakers. I have some of those every now and then. Other than that, like I have almonds and dates, and I have stuff to do ham and turkey sandwiches and various options on bread on that. But I try not to eat too much bread, but I've made an option. I've made a, cave in or whatever for fucking sandwiches concession. Made a concession for bread on sandwiches because I just need something to hold it up and like I got tired of just eating meat and cheese on a plate with no mayonnaise. So I have a Miracle Whip and mustard for my sandwiches. And that's it. Pro tip: if you want to have a lighter sandwich or whatever, and you normally put mayonnaise on both pieces of bread, put mayonnaise lightly on one piece of bread and put mustard heavy on the other piece of bread. This gives you some mayonnaise, and it gives you a lot of mustard to make up for the fact that there's not much mayonnaise. But mustard basically is vinegar and mustard powder and has almost no calories or anything to it. And mayonnaise is kind of heavy on the calories, so that's why I do that. That would be my advice to you on sandwiches. There's other advice on sandwiches, but try to get some sort of bread that makes sense to you. I like fresh baked shit whenever I can get it, but it doesn't last very long. Uh, Other than sandwiches, I really like Marie Callender's little microwave meals. I like the chicken and dumplings, and I like the Salisbury steak and the meatloaf. And they're nice, healthy little things you just pop in the microwave, and they're good. I think they're good for you. Um, Other than that, for dieting, the main thing that I like to do is I try to keep it simple and do chicken, cheese, and fruit and veggies. And the easiest way to do that is to go and get one of those rotisserie chickens at fucking Walmart or Reese's. You don't have Reese's probably. Reese's is a local grocery store, but some sort of place like that, they have chickens that are rotisserie chickens for $5 or $6 usually. You can get one of those and some cheese and like a piece of fruit and some kind of vegetable to cook or not cook or do whatever it is you're gonna fucking do with it. And boom, there's dinner. I do that a lot. Like you can get a rotisserie chicken and like a couple of kiwi and some bananas and a thing of asparagus. And, cook the asparagus in some olive oil with some garlic and just have the kiwi and bananas raw. And like, boom, there's dinner. And like, that's kind of the key to a lot of stuff, really, I think, is like, what makes it more dietetic? Putting less shit in it. I'm shaking my head up and down right now. Yeah, that's what makes it more dietetic. Uh, in general, a lot of these things that like never enough ammo. My old friend is a perfect example of this. Everything he cooks, he tries to make a little bit better, and he adds cream cheese and like wasabi mayo or like all this stuff, and like nothing against that, and adding tweaks and whatever, but like a lot of the things that you do that with are high in calories and fats and whatever, and like if you do that at every meal, it eventually adds up and like haunts you. I try to eat super clean. And like I don't believe in the whole vegan crap. And the reason I don't believe in that is people are omnivores. You can look at our teeth. Your teeth tell you what you're supposed to eat. What are our teeth made to eat? It's not just fruits and veggies. We have teeth specifically made for eating meat. So, yeah, I'm going to eat some fucking meat. And as far as, the meat industry, I would like that to be better. There's nothing I can do about that. I try not to be a part of it. Okay. In my mind, meat should be gathered, I would say ethically, but that's a compromised word. The what I mean is I think you should have to go and look that thing in the eye yourself that you're about to eat and kill it and drink its blood and eat its heart raw and thank it for its life. That's what I think you should have to do if you're going to eat it. Because of the realities of modern life, I don't get to do that much. And to be honest, I'm more of a cooked heart person than I am an eat it raw person. The only time that I would eat heart raw, someone would have had to do something very bad. The worst thing I think you can do to someone is cut their heart out of their body and start eating it while it's still beating in front of their eyes while they're still alive. There's only a couple of things I would do that for, and it's a bad punishment. That's like some like crazy Native American shit. That's like shit Magua and Crazy Horse would have done. And you know, I was an anthropologist. Okay, like that's where I come from. And this is literally, I am like this weird combination of shit that at the end of the day, I'm an anthropologist, and I find it fascinating. I like going places with different people and seeing how they do things. And I make a good casual observer in that because I am and was in my life every day. I was never a part of their society. I fit in quite well with the anthropology chicks. The couple of them that I dated were lesbians, which I think is hilarious. I I dated several lesbians in college, to be honest, and some of that was playing around and having fun and whatever. And some of that was hot, hot lesbian girls that knew I was trans but didn't know it or whatever I was freaky and kinky or whatever as far as they were concerned. And they were into me and I was into them. So did that too. Like this is like you know, my bucket list has nothing left on it anymore, guys. Like the thing left on my bucket list is to go to Tibet. Maybe someday when China doesn't own it. It's sad. I'll have to settle for going to Nepal. And like that's gonna be my consolation prize if they always own Tibet. Like go to Nepal and then like buy a horse and just try to ride across the border illegally with a gun. Because if you're gonna try to break into Tibet, what the fuck are you doing, cat? Anyway, if you're gonna try to break into Tibet, I think I'd bring a gun. Like that's on my bucket list. Lead a rebel army against the United States. That might be on my bucket list. It's not really, but you know, there's a couple things like that that are like big things that are hard to do. Uh, but everything else, you know, I say big things that are hard to do. Like I won't go to Tibet until it's free of China, basically, unless I went there illegally. So like that's a whole thing. Like it's not just buying a plane ticket to like conquer China or some shit. And then there's that's some self-imposed rules or whatever, but like part of that's not so self-imposed. I'm a little worried about going to anywhere the Chinese control. Like the other thing would be like I would love to buy my mom a house and car. It's a lot of money. I don't have that money right now. So that's like a long-term goal. But as far as everything else goes, as far as like travel and like doing shit and seeing shit and whatever, like there's nothing really left that I'd be like, oh man, I'd like to go see that. Tropical beaches. There's tropical beaches I'd like to go to. But like that's half of my thing is what are you gonna do once you're there? You know? All you're gonna do is sit in a hotel room and watch Netflix. You can do that here. Like the thing that pissed me off about one of my exes was we could have done anything in the world. World was our oyster. All she wanted to do is play video games and get high. And like I don't mind the getting high part, but I was wanting to get high and like take off to the fucking desert or some shit. Or like she was a Hunter S. Thompson fan, and she liked me because well, I am kind of Hunter S. Thompson, and I broke her out of her shell a little bit. But at the same time, there's some stuff that like it's gonna take some growing up, basically, for her to get to the point where like there's it's enough of this video game shit. At least in my opinion. I think maybe some people just will never get there. Like if you really think, oh, I need my electronics, I feel sorry for you. Like I'm talking to you on this thing now because there's no other way to like spread my message. And I like to watch YouTube on my TV because it provides me videos of like random cool shit to get high to. Other than that, I really don't use that much entertainment technology, really. Most of my stuff is like playing with guns and knives and shit and projecting and whatever and like modding stuff out. And, you know, I also spend an inordinate amount of time thinking about ancient aliens and ancient civilizations and God and the universe and shit like that. And I know a lot of people will be like, "Oh, that's a waste of fucking time. You're crazy." Blah blah blah. You can think whatever you want. I find that stuff interesting and valuable, so I study it and I get things from it. And it really doesn't have too much to do with any of the rest of this. Like that's I have several different like completely different sides of myself that do different things. And it's not like I have multiple personalities or some shit. It's like no, I am into kinky sex and I am into guns and knives and camping and prepping and I am into politics and I am into ancient aliens and mysteries and shit and various other things. I am, a veritable onion of interests. Most people probably don't even know that I can do flint napping. Like that's, you know, what would you pull out of your hat at a party? Well, I can make arrowheads. At the right kind of party, that's a cool thing to pull out. At a fucking mountain man thing, and like that's the thing that I would actually like to go to. I would like to go to a mountain man rendezvous, especially if I get a little hotter. Like, I think I'd probably turn a few heads there, but it would be fun to hang out and you know learn new stuff, shoot black powder guns, that kind of a thing. Like I'm into all of that stuff. Always have been very very into it, and like I have. I've hardly ever shown any black powder stuff on camera before, really. I've owned a bunch of flintlocks and I've owned a couple percussion guns. This is the first ugh, cap and ball revolver I've ever owned. All the ones I've owned before this were conversions. They were 45 long Colt and 38 special conversions, and those are cool. But I actually think it's kind of neat having the cap and ball. I'm excited to get to shoot that thing. I've shot single action revolvers a shit ton. Like I said, I've never shot black powder in a revolver, which at least not without it being in a cartridge. I've shot black powder cartridges before, but I've never shot cap and ball revolvers. I when I worked for the Boy Scouts, I taught muzzle loading shit, and we were instructed on how to do that. And I already knew, and that was for rifles, and I already knew how to do all of that shit from growing up in Oklahoma. We hunted black powder season, and the revolver, there's more to it, but it's not much more. It's just the same thing times six. And you need to know how to fucking use the load lever, which is pretty self-explanatory. Honestly, I dig the cap and ball one more than the cartridge gun, the Colt single action. That's why I always bought the conversions. Like I've owned one or two Colt single action clones, and I've owned like 8 conversions. especially like those man with no name conversions. I've had that gun 3 times because I'm an idiot. I get a hankering for it, and I want one, and it's a 38 special toy. Yeah, there's no point to it, and it's a $500 or $600 paperweight. Eventually, it has to go. Oh, the cap and ball, I think, serves a legitimate enough purpose as a hey, I just need to defend myself from robbers, and this has 6 shots, and it can be reloaded a lot longer. I think that's an interesting capability to have in a set of guns, and that's what I have right now. It's like I'm working on like the guns that every prepper should own, basically, and I'm getting my version of that. And my version of that is going to be a uh, a car 9mm handgun, a Remington 1911, the Flex Raider, of course, Savage 64 Takedown 22, an H&R single shot 12 gauge with a 9mm adapter, uh, 2 different AR-15s, one configured for long range, one configured for home defense, and then I don't know if I'm gonna have things other than that eventually, but like when I do that video, I'd like to have a bolt action hunting rifle, and I don't know what caliber. I have to think about that. Probably 308 though, and I don't know. That's one short of 10 though, so I'd probably pick a 10th one. But in reality, you don't really need a bolt action hunting rifle. The AR-15 I have with a scope on it kind of is my hunting rifle. I'm not even gonna buy 308. I uh, I think the economy is gonna be rough enough and shit that I'm probably not gonna be able to afford 5.56. So why waste money on 308 guns? I spent the money on my Flex Raider and the cap and ball revolver and the car because my theory and thought on those was the car. I love the steel frame car, and I wanted a small 9mm handgun, and it was cheap. The cap and ball revolver is I want to be able to plink at least, and I think I will always be able to get cap and ball shit relatively cheap at Oklahoma and go plink with it. I hope. Um, that's kind of the thought with the 1911 too. Is 45 ACP is much the same way. And then the Flex Raider, the thought on it was I wanted one toy that was a pistol caliber carbine that I could always afford to go shoot. So I picked 9 mil, and I looked at what was available. And I ended up at the Flux Raider because I was like, oh, I want an MP5K PDW, but I don't have that kind of money, and it's kind of heavy. And I saw the Flux Raider, and it's like the better version of the MP5K PDW. It's it's a PDW, and like I think a PDW is a firearm worth owning. It's on my list of guns that I own. You know, like I don't own that many guns right now, and I own 2 AR-15s, 2 handguns, a black powder revolver, a Flux Raider, however you want to count that, and a Savage 22. And then I've got the single shot 12 gauge just with my buddy, but it's mine technically. I think now, like it depends on how our night vision deal goes, but I'm hoping to whenever I get a PVS 7, I'm hoping to have enough money and swing and whatever and trade to get a couple of units and have night vision for him too. Oh. Anyway, my thought with these guns is I want versatility in what I can do, and like for survival, that's what the single shot H&R is and the 22 are for. And the reason I want a single shot H&R is I don't need to waste a bunch of shotgun ammo. I need one shot. It gets me that cheap. I like it. It's a cool break action. There's nothing to go wrong with it. You can get adapters for it to shoot other shit, etc., etc. And like really, if I was gonna put another gun on this list, okay, when I was saying earlier that I was one gun shy of 10 guns, the other gun that I would put on it would be a Maverick 88 or Mossberg 500, whatever, some sort of pump action 12 gauge shotgun that you can get bird barrels and home defense barrels for. And I'll get that eventually. That's kind of what I'm building here is my 10 gun arsenal kind of thing. Might get a 223 caliber hunting rifle. That would be more interesting. I could get like a Ruger American Predator kind of thing, Ruger American Ranch in 5.56 or 7.62 by 39. That's what I should do. Then I could have something that shoots that caliber, and that would work for a deer rifle. However, the idea would be to have ammo and mag compatibility with your other shit, right? So really, 5.56 in an AR mag, you could get the Ruger Ranch rifle or the the Savage, not Savage, the Mossberg, Mossberg MVP. I don't know why I said Savage, but the Mossberg MVP takes AR-15 mags and 5.56, and like if you did just want a bolt action hunting rifle, you might do that. But like then there's the power factor. Do you need 308 power? Do you need 7.62 by 39 power? And that might be the route that I end up going is getting a 7.62 by 39 ranch rifle. There's a lot of those out there, and I'll find one of those for a good deal and put some sort of scope on it. They just have that as a hunting rifle. It's an interesting thing to have a limited amount of guns to work with. Like that's the thing that I always was thinking in my head was I am building a set of guns that is my set of guns to do things with. And I've gone all over the place. It's taken me fuck, how long have I been doing this now? I started seriously working on having a set of arms in 2007, 2006, somewhere in there. I've been doing this since then. And I started out with a bolt action 30-30 and a pump action 410. And I don't think I've told this story. I might have. The pump action 410 was a Remington 870, and it was a nice one, brand new in box. and it was cool. And it had it been a 12 gauge, I would have kept it. My grandfather gave it to me, and he was so proud of it because it was a 410. I was looking at it like it's fucking useless. I went and I sold that gun, and I used that money to buy my first Glock, which was a Glock Gen 217, and I used the change from it to buy a Nagant revolver. And and no regrets. I kept the 30-30 for a long time. Uh, it's a Sears and Roebuck 325 Charlie 30-30 bolt action. I had 3 extra mags for that thing too. It's a 3-shot magazine. So like that 30-30 bolt action and my Glock and the Nagant were my guns for a long time. Like as soon as I got that Remington, he gave that to me when I was 16. He had it for me since I was like 2 or some shit, but just never gave it to me. Never told me about it. Never let me use it for hunting or anything like that. And I was already using a 12 gauge hunting, and had been for 4 years. I'm like, well, why are you giving me a 410 now? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Didn't make any sense to me then. Doesn't make any sense to me now. But I was like, thank you for the Glock, because I took that as what it was. I went and looked at it and like, what is this? This is a free opportunity to get anything I want at the gun show, because it's a pump action 410, and there's enough old men there that are going to think that's super cool. What do I want? I decided that I wanted some sort of a modern gun that could take high cap mags, and because I shot a SIG 226 that my uncle had, and I realized that, and he had 30 round mags for it, and I loved that. And I'm like, oh yeah, I want a SIG. Went and looked at SIG prices. Okay, well we need something cheaper. And at this time, I was reading shit on the internet or whatever, so I had heard a Glock. It's like, okay, let's get a Glock. Can't afford a SIG, let's get a Glock because Glock makes 33 round mags. So that's why I bought that gun. And then the Nagant revolver was when I was done getting the Glock and buying a 33 round mag and a holster. I bought a drop leg holster because I was cool. Um, I had enough money left over that I was sitting there looking at what else I could get, and I saw a Nagant revolver for $75, and I bought that shit too. Because I don't remember the exact details of what happened with the fucking shotgun to Glock thing. I think I sold the shotgun and then took that cash and bought the Glock and the Nagant. And honestly, those were some of the smartest purchases I ever made in firearms. I should have just quit there. The Nagant revolver was a Tula with Bakelite grips from the 40s. Standard fare for back then. And I used some of the leftover money, like I said, to get a magazine for the Glock, a holster for the Glock, and then I bought a box of bullets. Or no, I bought 2 boxes of bullets for the Nagant revolver. I figured I'll find 9mm later. That's easy enough to find. As it turns out, when I went and showed my grandfather what I had done, because I asked him before I did that with the shotgun. I showed him how much money I got for it and then what I spent it on, and he was like, "That's a good purchase," or whatever. He was happy with it because like I didn't take that shotgun and sell it and piss that money away on video games. I uh, I took that shotgun and sold it for every bit of what it was worth, if not more. And then sat there and thought about how I was going to use that money to best arm myself. And like my grandfather was more than happy to let me do that. All I fucking wanted to do. Like I don't really blame him. Like if I saw my kid doing that, I'd encourage the fuck out of that too. Especially when he comes back with a Russian surplus pistol he bought for $75. That's definitely going to be a $500 gun someday. Like even back then, I saw those guns and was like, "These are cool. They're going to be worth something eventually." And I should have fucking just poked a lot of those away, and I didn't because I'm an idiot. Anyway, that's why I bought that Nagant revolver as my second gun, though. I like those things. That's how I found gun YouTube back in the day. Um, was after I had those guns, my grandfather was proud of my accomplishment, basically, and he wanted to support this endeavor. So he gave me 500 rounds of 9mm for the Glock. And while he was giving me the ammo, he was looking through his safe or whatever and pulled out a Walther P1. He was like, "You like this?" It's like, "Yeah, it's a Walther P1." And I went all about it. He's like, "Hey, it's yours." He just threw it at me. I asked him, "Where'd you get it?" He's like, "It was cheap." I'm like, "How cheap?" He's like, "I bought it off a widow friend of your grandma's for $50 a few years ago." I'm like, "Okay, I don't feel so bad about taking it then." He's like, "Yeah." It's like, "I kept it off the streets." Like, "Oh, you have such a kind heart, Grandpa, keeping little old ladies from selling guns onto the streets." And in reality, you just want to get a Walther P1 for $50. But yeah, that started an addiction basically because, like, from that point, guns were money. And I tried all of those guns, shot all of those guns, shot up the ammo for the 9 mils and shot up a box of the ammo for the Nagant and was like, "Okay, now what?" And I'm sitting there like, I could go save up and buy an AR-15 or whatever, yeah, or we can trade or whatever. And like for a while, I was kind of like most people are in that, oh, I have to hang on to my babies, and I saved most of those. But like that Walther P1, I think I flipped because at that time those were going for big money, more than $50. I think it was like a $500 pistol then. I think they've been that for a long time. In any case, I sold it to fund other endeavors, and the I ended up taking that money and a bunch of other money that I had saved, and I was going to get rifles. That was next, and I decided, based on watching the movie Navy SEALs and Red Dawn, that I needed an underfolding AK-47, as one does. So we went and did that, and I got one that was a Jam-O-Matic. It was a Century Arms Wasser 10 underfolder that jammed every other round. I Like I said, I was new to guns and didn't know much, so I fucking took it to a gun show, traded that thing in, and took that money and I bought a Keltec Sub 2000 because I already had a Glock 17. And it was not long after that that I saved up and bought an AR-15. And that was mostly a result of my experience with that AK. However, before getting the AR, I actually got another AK that was a Romanian G kit on a, I think it was either a Childers or a Nodak receiver. It was a garage build. It ran like a fucking scalded ape. Couldn't kill that gun. And the AR has appeal to it, right? But so does the AK. And I had that lust for a long time, and I still could easily, but it's just, I don't think they're near as cool as the fucking guys that jerk off over them all the time. Okay, like I think it's about as cool as a Mauser K98. Okay, it's not like, oh, it's that antiquated, but like it is antiquated in the same way a Mauser K98 is, or an M1 is. That's how I look at the AK-47. Now, if you want to be like, oh, well, what about the AK-74M? Less so, but still a little bit. Like, I consider most of what our military is using right now to kind of be behind the curve, to be honest. If you look at my rifles, the KE arms lowers, I'm not saying that that should be a military issue thing, but they should develop that product into a military, M16, A5, whatever, that is not the combat issue rifle for everybody, but is the truck driver rifle. And this is what they should do. Like, make it the M5 carbine. This is a good idea. Make it a polymer lower. Make it a. Hmm, there's. It's tempting. I think I would go with a 14.5 upper. And mm, I would rather have a mid length. I really think the mid length looks better. But I think the military would go with a 14.5 upper with standard handguards and bayonet lug and that whole thing. And then for the rest of the shit on it, like I said, this is for truck drivers. So lightweight. That's why on the front end, like some sort of plastic handguards that can take a light of some sort. Something like that. I have to figure that out. And then like the optic, like an Aimpoint T1, something like that. Something small, lightweight, rugged, robust that's red dot. And have the A-frame front sight for a bayonet lug and have a rear backup sight that's, something basic, pop up, something like what I have is the Magpul Pro, but like any rear sight would work. I don't care what it is, the Maytech would work. That is the rifle that they should be issuing to like the Air Force and shit, in my opinion. All of these, like anyone that you're issuing like an M1 carbine to back in the day, there's no reason to issue that SIG fucking monstrosity that they're fucking talking about issuing to everyone, to base guards and shit. And that's the Air Force's original point of the AR-15 was that their needs are slightly different than the Army, and the AR-15 serves the Air Force's needs still. It's a defensive rifle, very much so. Like for air base guards and shit, it's kind of fucking perfect. And there's a whole bunch of other people, like I said, truck drivers, supply people, all the people in the Army that don't shoot for a living. You could equip them with this polymer lowered, carbine length, uppered, plastic hand guarded, micro red dotted rifle as just a standard issue fucking thing. Like this is the carbine that we issue to the masses. And it would be using M4 uppers they already have that they won't be using for anything, right? Lightening the fuck out of all of it because it's just ditching half the metal on the gun basically. And we're not doing a quad rail at all. Forget all that shit. Just put a standard set of handguards on it. Put the lightest weight backup sight on it that you can get, and then put, like I said, an aim point T2, T1, whatever. Because this is the military, so you'd adopt a real optic. But that rifle that I just described would do most of what we would need for the U.S. military for the foreseeable future, and we could just crank out polymer lowers, and we have enough M4 uppers in inventory to last us for the rest of time, I'm guessing. But if we don't, the civilian market's got us covered. You know, make that gun select fire. That's what I would do. Um, And a lot of people be like, really? Yeah, I would do it. Like, there's no reason not to. What about, oh, they'll spray and pray, whatever. Like, well, train your fucking troops. Okay. If they still do that, well, then they were always going to do that. They're going to do that in semi-auto too. It's just less effective. Wouldn't you want them to be effective at spray and pray? That's my thoughts. Like that rifle that I described there, that is the realistic version of the what would Stoner do carbine that could be a militarized product. And it's for truck defense and airbase defense. And they should sell it to the Air Force, Space Force. That rifle's easy as shit to use. It uses a bunch of parts that we already have, and that polymer lower makes it cheap as fuck. It really does. The thing that I like about the polymer lower is it makes it better, in my estimation, in almost every way, and it cuts a lot of costs because you have one part that costs $100 that is being replaced by one part that costs $100 that also replaces half of the other parts. Like, you don't need a stock, you don't need a buffer tube, you don't need a pistol grip, you don't need a trigger guard. It significantly cheapens up the gun and lightens it. And that's, maybe that's what I should build. That is 100% what I should do with my other lower. I have a second KE Arms lower right now that has a cheapo Bear Creek upper on it. I keep trying to decide what I want to do with that thing. Because, like, I don't like the upper that's on it. And I'm going to keep that gun because I like the lower. And it's an AR, so we can do whatever we want. And, like, selling the whole upper on that thing is seriously an option. It would be cool to build a KISS rifle that was carbine length upper on that 14.5 pin and weld. That's going to get expensive. But make the militarized what would Stoner do carbine. The cheap option to that would be to build it as a mid length. It's like, in reality that wouldn't change that much, and then you wouldn't need the pin and weld. And my idea for handguards on it is we need a way to attach a light. It's a truck driver rifle. They're not gonna have night vision and shit, right? So what are they gonna have? A flashlight. Well, a Magpul handguard could do that shit, and like give them a vertical grip too, because like they like a vertical grip. The Magpul handguard allows you to do that too. It's a relatively cheap, cost-effective upgrade that makes sense. M-LOK is the military standard now. I uh, I really like that idea, and I might try to build one of those out. As just it's my hypothetical gun for the Air Force. And instead of a T1 or whatever, I'll have a hollow sun on it. But and I would put a Magpul Pro on it because I will have the latitude to do whatever I like. Loki is pretty much my Air Force carbine. My AR-15 build that I have painted green and yellow. It's that Air Force carbine adapted into a hunting rifle with a fucking detachable scope. You know, it would be cool to do the full, like, we used an M4 upper and do the 14.5 inch thing. Like, the NFA is so stupid. It would be even cooler to do like a Block 1 SOP mod upper, taken into the 21st century on a plastic lower. But the only thing is that those are so heavy with the quad rail. I don't know. That would definitely give it that military carbine look, though, would be to have the Knight's Armament rail on it. Could go 20-inch. Literally build it as the M16A5. As she should have been. I do like a 20-inch gun. I miss it. It would be really dope to get a 26, sorry, a 20-inch upper with a carry handle. Put that lower on it. Except they fucking put that goofy Magwell thing on it. That kind of kills the retro vibes. I'd love to have a retro rifle that was even lighter. And that's kind of what I get when I take the scope off of Loki. Like, Loki's made to be a Weaver 2 to 7 like hunting scope on kind of a ghetto SPR build for when we need that. And for when we don't need that, you can just quick screw that scope off and have iron sights and a really light, handy, gun to carry around the farm or, maybe at night. Various other uses. But for sure, at the range, I like shooting an iron sighted rifle. And not having a carrying handle, I think, actually makes that thing even lighter. A 20-inch build on that, I don't know what kind of handguards I would use. 20-inch would really open up the door of handguards because there's, triangle, A2, Magpul, Knight's Armament rails. There's, probably others. Like that gives you quite a few more options than. Ooh, oh, sorry, quite a few more options than mid length at least. But like really, mid length has A2 and Magpul and various rails you could drop into it. I don't see the disadvantages to mid length. And those uppers are cheaper. Like that's half of my reasoning behind that upper being the upper that I put on shit right now is it's the Palmetto State Armory Phosphate mid-length upper, mid-length classic upper. It's 289 and comes with a bolt and carrier and charging handle. Comes with handguards. The handguards that are on mine are the ones it came with. The fucking lower I have on mine, I got for $130 on Gunbroker, and the stuff that's in it from KE Arms is actually the stuff that's still in that one. The other one I had to replace the buffer in. I think their buffers are kind of junky. Just my opinion. The buffer and spring could be better. But otherwise, all the KE Arms parts are great. I'm a very big fan of that lower as a way to make your gun lighter and cheaper. I don't like the Bear Creek Arsenal upper I have on my other lower, and that is in short why I debate selling that upper at a gun show or whatever and getting something else. I think I would probably get another Palmetto upper exactly like the one I've got. And I think I would probably put the Magpul handguards on it and build it out as, that Air Force carbine that I have in my head. My other gun is kind of like a weird '90s Vietnam SPR sniper rifle thing. I don't know. It's cool. I like it. It gives you a lot of capabilities on one gun, and you could always ditch that optic and put any other optic you want on it. I like the Weaver 2 to 7 because it's pretty light. It, it's a good scope, and it gives you a lot of a lot of range that a red dot just doesn't. I like being able to see. And as far as like the A-frame front sight post being on a gun with a scope, I, I don't. It gets in the way. I see it, but it doesn't get in the way. You know what I mean? Like it's not that hard to look around it. It's less of an issue on 2 power than it is on 7 power for sure. But the other gun I definitely want to have with a red dot. And I think this is the thing where like I'm gonna need 2 AR-15s. And we have the other one set up as what it is. And I like that because really the long range gun is kind of superfluous and the iron sighted gun is kind of superfluous. And then combining them into one badass military SPR looking thing, much better in my opinion. Saves us a lot of money. And then my other gun there is kind of gonna be like a home defense rifle, but it needs to have a red dot and a flashlight on it. Short of that, the world is your oyster. I'm gonna build something cool. And like these are my future gun projects, and like they're slow, and like the things that I don't already have are a bolt action rifle and a pump action shotgun. And I think this is where a lot of you guys should get with your gun collections. Get what you want to get and get it without paperwork. Don't ever fill out a 4473 again. Whatever you've done is what you've done, but they're fucking gonna hunt us down one by one. It's what they're doing with their little database. They don't like people that buy guns for whatever reason. I don't fucking understand what their fucking issue is. What are they planning to do that is so bad that they fucking hate us so much? That's my concern. This is coming up on 2 hours of this shit. Let's smoke and decide if we're gonna go for 3. I can. I gotta tell you that. My tit fell out. I'm just telling you guys everything lately. I don't see a point in fucking hiding shit. Like, to some extent, the girl part of this is getting to be more and more of a prevalent thing. And, like, it's harder for it not to affect the way that I talk and behave and act and do whatever. Like, honestly, part of the reason I sold the FAL is because I am a girl and I don't want to fucking haul around a 308. It was heavy. That sucks. But like the last thing I shot that really had recoil, I didn't like that either. So I'm buying some chick guns, and that's kind of half of my thing with big steel pistols. The reason that I have a steel frame car is because it manages recoil well. You know, sometimes in order to be cute, you need limp little wrists. I did like the cutest thing there, and you didn't even see it. So I tailor my guns to reflect that. And really, like, I think everyone's shit should be lightweight and what they can carry. And my gun collection isn't what I could carry, but it's all things that are like I have two or three setups that I can kind of pick between. And I could easily throw all of them in a bag and carry them into a car and take them to the range. That's where I'm at with my gun collection. As far as like when the world ends and we're out roaming with the zombies, I might have to pick my babies a little more carefully. But I'm hoping to be able to have the minivan to shove all these in. Have like the AR-15s is like the primary armament, and then have like, the 22 and shotgun and the hunting rifle and shotgun as like the survival weapons or whatever, and then have the pistols and PDWs like little stash guns all over the car. It's a minivan bristling with guns. How many guns is she? She's a 10-gun pirate ship. Yo ho, heave ho. I guess technically, like, my break action shotgun is kind of a cannon. Shame it's not a 10 gauge. God damn. Second. I always hate weed because I like never know when I'm gonna cough. Like sometimes I take giant hits, don't cough at all. Sometimes I take a tiny hit and just cough like crazy. Oh, I'm trying to kind of decide. You know, it's not 10 necessarily. 10 kind of works because like 10 would be a bolt action rifle and a shotgun. And really, I'm thinking like a fucking Ruger Ranch, maybe. I don't know. I want to look at the models of Mossberg MVP that they make because I could kind of see having the long range 223 setup, bolt action heavy barrel, you know, that can take the same fucking ammo as your other gun in theory. I could see that. Might do that. But the other route is, you know, get a Ruger Ranch rifle with like little 10-round mags and I don't know what kind of scope on it. Maybe even just a red dot. But have it for, you know, deer hunting, that kind of a thing. But I kind of think like that AR-15 would have the same capabilities as that. Whereas, getting, I think they made a Thunder Ranch version of that Mossberg MVP. VP Thunder Ranch. Yeah, that thing's dope. If you got that thing, I don't know what kind of scope I would put on that, but you could get something with tactical turrets and shit, even. Honestly, I think I'd probably try to get a Vortex for that. Like get a Vortex 1 to 10 or something. That'd be a cool scope to put on that gun. But really, why wouldn't you put that on your AR? I would love to get the Mossberg MVP Patrol Thunder Ranch rifle with iron sights. Like that's the thing, Clint, baby. Why don't you have them doing fucking iron sights? It says it has iron sights. Select options. I don't know. I like that gun though. The reason I like that gun is it comes in a green stock I like green, and I could very easily throw up a little black tiger stripe on that and make it mine. I dig Clint Smith and Thunder Ranch quite a bit, so I think I might be on the hunt for one of those. I don't know exactly what kind of optic I'll put on it, but I'll make it like a bolt action hunting rifle and just keep a couple of 10-round mags for it. And like the cool part of it will be it'll have commonality with my other rifles. Have something different to shoot. I don't know. And like that's a you know after everything else is bought and we have a job and the car is completely done and all of our preps are completely done and then we'll buy that gun. Maybe I'll get gun number 10 as something else really. That's my thought is an AR-15 shoots accurately enough for me. So, maybe instead of that thing, really what I want is a bolt action military rifle in 223 that takes AR-15 mags that they make 10-round mags for. So like imagine imagine if the Thunder Ranch MVP and a K98 had a baby where like you could have a modern cheap cartridge and even more firepower because it's more fun to be able to shoot more. But you have a old school iron sighted rifle, bolt action. There's some money in that. Same thing, lever action. Like if you could make a lever action gun that fed off of a modern cartridge really well, like a 9 millimeter lever action carbine, which you could 100% do. Like it would not be the easiest thing in the world, but you could do a Henry style loading gate thing that would 100% work with 9 mil. That would be dope. Like maybe I should get a lever action. Like that's not a terrible idea. I got like a 4570 lever gun. Let's look at rifles on arms list. That's a great idea. This is a terrible idea because this is how I end up buying shit. Look at rifles on arms list high at 3:20 in the morning with you fuckers. Let's take off the premium vendors because fuck those people. So first up, there's a Savage 7mm 08. I don't like that caliber at all. It's just weird. I don't have anything against it as far as its performance. It's the fact that it's not a standard cartridge used by the U.S. military, pretty much. Some horrible 1022 and Archangel stock that looks like an abomination. Winchester Model 94 3030. Something like that wouldn't be terrible, but that one is goofy looking. I could have. All I want is a deer rifle and a pump shotgun. And what I would define as a deer rifle is pretty loose. Honestly, usually for me, what I would define as a deer rifle is like a Lee Enfield. We might go that route. We might get something Mil Serp. But I need a deer rifle and a pump action shotgun eventually. And like those are like, why do you need those? Well, those are food guns. Like those are the kind of guns I want to have on the wall of a cabin. And like, do I really need the deer rifle? Is my question. No, not rifles. So if we don't need the deer rifle, you know, what kind of rifle do we need? And at that point, I think a bolt action military surplus rifle is probably where I'm going to go. 1917 Eddystone. That is nice. And see, like that's the thing is now I've seen this and I kind of want this. Like something like a 1917 Eddie Stone or a 1903 A3. It's the 1903 with the aperture sights. I could go for that. I could go for several other guns, but like I'm gonna get something probably in 30-06. If it's not in 30-06, it'll be 303 British or 308, something like that. It's gonna be a 30 caliber round iron sighted rifle. That that may very well be the way I go because that is a rifle that you could hunt deer with. It is a piece of history, and you can get those relatively cheap. Like worst comes to worst, I could get a Mosin. Well, except with all the Russian craziness now, who fucking knows? There's some sort of bolt action fucking rifle from World War II that sells for cheap money that'll take a deer. Is my point. And I would rather have that in a lot of ways. Yeah, I'm not really seeing much of that kind of shit on here. New Haven, $135. Semi-auto 22 LR. Okay. C93 556 for $1,300. Ruger number 3 and 4570. Yeah, there's not too many mill strips on here. Like that's the thing is, I'd probably just get a pocket full of money and go to a gun show and see what turned out. There's a Carcano cavalry rifle for 275. That's tempting. I don't know what I have that. The issue with that gun is ammunition. Like that's the thing with buying some of those rifles. Some of those rifles are cheap for a reason. Good luck finding fucking ammo reliably. An M1 carbine would be an interesting choice. Actually, fuck, that's what I should buy. A lot of ways. That's cool. The thing that was cool was a Palmetto State Armory upward KE arms lowered gun. Looks kind of cool too. It's a SIG MCX TAC Ops with like a bunch of widgets on it. Hmm. This is kind of thrilling to listen to probably now. But if we hit a lick and find something cool to talk about, it'll be awesome. I'm looking at the arms list page in Tulsa, Oklahoma, by the way. You can just Google that and look at the stuff that I'm looking at probably. If you watch this, today or tomorrow, it'll be a pretty similar thing of guns. I could get a fucking Arasaka, but again, ammo. Arasaka would be so fucking dope. I I don't like most Japanese firearms of World War II. Most of them are complete and utter garbage. For whatever reason, I guess a country's bolt action military rifle has to work, has to be good, and they made a very interesting one. I wish it had more available ammunition. What's really funny is there's more fucking Arasakas in the United States than there are anywhere in the fucking world. We took them all home with us. Mm, It would be cool to get like a 22 Magnum or something like that too. Like just get a random ass rifle just for the hell of it. Chinese SKS. you know. I want a 10th gun. I think I'm gonna get a 10th gun eventually. I don't know what that's gonna be. The use will come up eventually, and that's kind of the thing is like I'm buying guns for purposes or whatever, and that's why like a pump action shotgun with two barrels makes sense to me because that's a gun that can do many things. Especially if I get a nice wood Mossberg 500 with a bird barrel, I can get a home defense barrel for 80, $90 at any time and have that. But in the meantime, I'm probably not really going to be using a shotgun for home defense, so I'm not that concerned about it. It's not a pressing priority. I can just keep it with the bird barrel. And that will be a bird hunting gun. So my issue is with the fucking AR-15s. Pretty much, you could take most game that you'd ever want to take with those by shooting them in the head or the eye. But in reality, that's not a very big game rifle. So, like, what are you going to be hunting, right? Like, maybe, and this is like, I'm trying to build a set of weapons to do anything I might need them to do, and that's a hole in my shit for sure. In that I don't have a real rifle. I have 5.56 guns, but like I don't have anything like a 30-06 or a 45-70 or something with some ass on it. And that's kind of why I'd like to have a hunting rifle. A fucking M1 carbine would be fucking cool too, and that's like totally opposite end of the spectrum. M1 carbines are just dope. Like it was a that gun being released onto the civilian market became the civilian firearm and the police firearm for a long time. Like a lot of people I don't think realize that like you think back in like the 50s and 60s and whatever, oh, they didn't have AR-15s for police. No, they had fucking M1 carbines. Not every cop had one, but like there were police that definitely did. As a lot of people had Rising submachine guns and Thompson submachine guns too. Police have always been fairly well armed. A lot of fucked up like barreled actions and shit on here. Well, that's the end of the guns on arms list. Let's go look at pistols. There's more pistols on arms list than rifles. Let's get rid of the vendors again, because why would you ever look at the vendors' guns? There's a Colt with a bunch of mags and shit. That's kind of weird. 1911, sorry. Yeah, you say Colt, and there's a lot of Colts. Now, cool Walthers. Well, I think I'm gonna call this good here in a little bit because, like, I keep yawning, and it's because I'm getting sleepy. It's fucking getting early. Uh, Staccato C2 is expensive but nice. CCP 10, Smith and Wesson MP40, Sig P320, West German Sig P220. Okay, that's cool. The Cobra 45 410/22 long rifle. Sorry about the coughing. I've been smoking. It doesn't have a price on it, but has a phone number, and it's like, text to fucking you know make offers or whatever. I think those guns are kind of cool, especially the ones that are the 22 over the 410 as a survival gun, quote unquote. There's no real practical purpose to it, but you can shove it in a tackle box, and it's kind of dope. If I had the spare change, I would fucking grab that up because it's probably less than a couple $100 being on arms list. That's the thing is you need to know on arms list, weird shit doesn't sell, not unless it's cheap. And yeah, oh, that's cool. It's a VZ 70 32 ACP. I like those guns. I want it. Again, I have really no point or purpose for that. I don't have any ammunition for it. I do have a holster that would fit it. But yeah, that seems like a silly reason to buy a $300 gun. Hmm. Smith& and Wesson Bodyguards. Rare Glock 24 long slide. The Uberti. Oh, what is that thing called? Mm, Evil Roy revolver. Those guns are fucking cool. I very much like the Evil Roy mods that they do on those. Uh, a whole lot of Canics. SDS 1911s too. There's a lot of those guns that have been sold, you know, here in the U.S. over the last couple of years that I don't know if they're always going to be worth a whole lot. They were cheap when they came in, and who knows however many of them came in, and they're not a thing that there's a big collectible market for. And I kind of see them becoming this thing that is just like nobody wants it because it's a practical pistol. It's like, there may be a couple of people that collect hammers. They're few and far between. Those guns are kind of hammers. Oh, an Anderson AR-15 for $750 because arms list. Firestar, Tankfolio, Arms Core. Mm, I think I'm gonna call this good. You guys got an extra 20 minutes out of me looking at arms list. If you enjoyed that at all, I don't know. I don't remember what I talked about because I'm kind of high and falling asleep. Well, thank you for watching. If you've watched 2 hours and fucking 20 minutes of this at this point, you must really like me. So thank you. Thank you so much. I really do like having some place to ramble. And when I get someone that is into a lot of the same things that I am, and maybe even has some of the same bitches that I have about the government and the world, like talking to you people makes me feel sane. And it seems like there aren't very many people that think the way that I think, that aren't some crazy religious nut job, which I will fully admit that I sound like these days. But most of that is because I'm having fun and I'm forming a religion. And like, if you don't catch every sermon, you all the way through, you're not gonna get gems like this where I fucking break character and just talk to you and level with you. And like, some of it is that I've been praying to God, and like some things that I've been praying for happened, and that's weird. And some of it is fuck it, I'm starting a church, and some of it is, you know, there's so much wrong in the world. I feel that I'm supposed to preach. And I don't feel that I'm supposed to sit here and preach to you about, the teachings of Jesus or whatever. I think I'm supposed to sit here and talk to you about the shit that I'm talking to you about for whatever reason. And like the things that come out while I'm doing that about other things, I think is the point. Really. I want to have a blend of the things that I like. And the things that I like are Joe Rogan, Hunter S. Thompson, Atlantis, Ancient Aliens, fucking Nuttin' Fancy, and a few other things. But that's what this is. You know, there's no other fucking YouTube channel that's like this or will ever be like this. I don't think. This is, you know, my journal and diary in these long audio formats that I'm just letting you guys listen to. And then as for the videos and stuff, I'm trying to show some of my systems and what I'm doing and why to help you do yours. And I like having gear philosophy and life philosophy and a lot of other things. And my life philosophy, in case you haven't gotten the gist of it, is fuck whatever they told you. Do what you want to do. Like, if you want to be a fucking pony, go be it. We'll do whatever. Like, I have my interests. I am me. I like knife making and swords and guns and makeup and purses and, you know, lots of other things. We could go down that rabbit hole some more, but I find most of my audience isn't into such things. But there is like a sliver of people that are like chicks like me. And you guys like warm my heart to some extent. And like that's half of why I am as public about a lot of shit as I am. It's like, you know, Blair White is one view into the trans world that like a lot of conservative people get and are like, oh well, yeah, okay, I can deal with that. I'm hoping to at least be another slice of that they could possibly understand. And the gateway drug for my followers is that I like guns and making knives and that kind of shit, and you're all into that. And my politics, my politics are pretty much somewhere around between Joe Rogan, Blair White, and Glenn Beck. Like, if you had those three people sit down and draft a constitution, I think it would come out pretty good. And that's like, those are the three different camps of me. There is the me that is the Joe Rogan fan. There is the me that is the Blair White fan, and then there's the me that is like the Glenn Beck fan. I guess there's also the me that is like the Nut and Fancy fan. That's the voice that is missing. That's it. That should be like the four people that we get together to write the Constitution. We should get Glenn Beck, Nut and Fancy, Blair White, and Joe Rogan. It would be like the funniest thing ever. That's like if you let Ray Ray be queen of the universe, that's what would happen. Like those people are just different enough, but yet want essentially the same things that I think we would actually get shit done. I do not understand at this point how anyone in the world could be like, yo, bitch, yay Democrats, yay. I don't understand. Like to me, it seems like our political parties platforms are team run the ship off a cliff or whatever, and team, well, we'll keep steering in circles near the cliff. So that's great, you know. I'm voting. I don't know. I would like to steer away from the cliff. That would be nice. I watched a lot of Nut and Fancy videos to get out of my funk. There's something about like returning to something that you loved so much so long ago that reminds you who you are. And honestly, a lot of being on other people's shows for the last few years affected who I thought I was and who I am, and a lot of other things. A lot of other things went on too, but like, you know, when your opinions are really shaped by other people, it matters what they think quite a bit, I guess. Oop. Sorry, I'm eating a date. I like the joke in Robin Hood and the Men in Tights. He's like, "Care for a date? How about next Thursday?" You know, be a classy bitch like that. Well, on that note, we'll definitely end this. It's been 2 hours and 28 minutes and 47 seconds. I'm not going to hold out for the 30-minute mark. You guys have gotten enough of my inherent wisdom that comes from thinking that Blair White, Glenn Beck, Joe Rogan, and Nut and Fancy should probably be the ruling council. I also kind of think that like we could just elect Joey Diaz king of the United States until he dies, and let him set up however our elections go, and that'd be good. You know, make sure that like he doesn't build too many castles out of cocaine and fill them with hot Cuban women. Maybe ensure that his descendants don't take over. You know, but I honestly think if you had somebody like that, that was just some oh, It'd be great. He is a schmo that makes me laugh. And on that note, that is the 30-minute mark. So we will go now. See you guys.